So this is going to be my review of Fast X, the 10th, well technically 11th installment in the Fast and Furious saga. Now, I've enjoyed the Fast and Furious films for the most part. I mean, ever since Fast 5, the series has obviously gone to the next level in terms of being huge blockbusters and whatnot. And the series has been kind of hit and miss with the recent installments. But I was not looking forward to this film. You know, after F9, which I thought was just sort of okay, I guess, and just based on the trailers for this film, it just kind of felt like the series was just sort of driving in circles and doing the same stuff and shenanigans over and over and over again. In this film, the son of the villain from Fast 5, played by Jason Momoa, returns to cause trouble for Dom and his family. The villain plot of this movie is what I meant by the series driving in circles. We've already seen on 3 separate occasions the villain coming back, talking the same shit that Jason Momoa's character is talking about here. How you did me wrong in the past, or you did my family wrong, or I'm gonna get my revenge on you for effing with me. And most importantly, I'm gonna tear your fucking family apart. Dun dun dun. You know, that's just the same thing we've heard by multiple villains in this series. And then just based on these trailers, I'm like, really? We're doing this shit again? The intrigue here is if Jason Momoa could have brought anything different to the table here. Now, the trailers hinted that Momoa's character, his name is Dante in this film, was named Dante, would have some kind of level of playfulness to him while still being sort of a serious macho type personality. If anything, that was false advertising. His character here is anything but serious. Some words that would describe him would be flamboyant, childish, psychotic. If anything, he has more in common with the Joker than any of the previous villains that we've seen. I don't know if I was more entertained or puzzled by his character. You know, throughout the movie, he just has these little sort of quirks about him that's just like, oh, this is a different type of guy here. And for the beginning of it, it was kind of working because it was like, wow, here's a guy that's actually having some fun in what he's doing, a level of playfulness to him. But there was just one scene that goes way too far with it. There's a scene that involves him talking to corpses while also doing some shenanigans with those corpses. It's a really disturbing scene, and you could just hear the audience just say, what the fuck is going on here? You know, it really just kind of lost me with his character and just made me think, all right, this is a guy that's just going a little too far, and I just don't really know what to think about him. There's even a scene where he's channeling his inner Joker from the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight, where he's laughing while getting his ass whooped. And it's just like, yeah, this character, I think they just went a level too far with the level of sort of flamboyantness or psychoticness. They even say that he's psychotic in the movie, one of his personality traits. But I think it went a bit too far here. Despite all that, I think mostly to the movie's favor, it's a good idea they went in this direction to have something different, as it kind of separated him from the standard villain type we've seen in the other Fast and Furious movies since Fast and Furious 6. But like I said, there definitely were moments where it went too far here. Besides Jason Momoa's Dante character, the other major new character here is Brie Larson, playing the daughter of Mr. Nobody, a.k.a. Kurt Russell from the previous movies. Her character was okay, had some decent moments here and there, and they probably have more for her to do in whatever next installment is coming up. All of the other returning characters are what you'd expect from at this point. You know, you're talking about Dom, Letty, you know, Tesh and his other friend, Roman, all of that kind of stuff. Mia, though, probably has the most thankless role at this point. You know, her character at points just really just shows, is just there just to be there, just say, hey, you know, I'm still part of the family too. I think it's because at this point, her character is obviously so tied to Brian. And since Brian obviously can't be in the movies anymore, at least in a full force, you can only have her in the movie so much without questioning, well, why the hell isn't Brian in there too? I think the returning character that makes the best impression here is John Cena returning as Dom's brother Jacob, who was introduced in the last installment, F9. Now, John Cena is a really fun personality when given the chance, but his character was just too overly serious in F9 and just not really the type of stuff that John Cena really brings to the table that you won't really want him in your movie for. Now, the writing for his character, Jacob, in this one is much more suited to John Cena's personality, and that made the character way more enjoyable and fun, especially with the role he plays in this story with the mission that he's given. Part of the overall issue here, though, with characters is that there's so many characters at this point that it's hard for everyone to get adequate screen time and make any kind of impression in the story that's sort of worth a shit. I mean, I get it. The point of not every character is to have a story that's really worth a shit. But there are some returning characters in this that really are just sort of thrown in there just to say that, hey, I was there. I was in F10, even though I don't really have much to do. Even if it is a potential setup for the next film, there's just so many characters that the movie just kind of gets split in a bunch of directions, especially in the middle, where there's so many different missions going on here. Now, I haven't talked about the action yet. Now, the action in these films has looked to get bigger and better with each respective installment since really Fast 5. And the action in this film is great. From start to finish, every action scene, whether it's a shootout, a car chase, or a fist-to-fist fight, all of them are done excellent here, and I really enjoyed all the fights. The best action scene in this one is a car-like chase in Rome that features a destructive item rolling through the city. The whole scene is an homage to one of the best scenes in the whole franchise, and that's the vault chase segment at the end of Fast 5. But the Rome chase in here is great. Speaking of Fast 5, this film makes Fast 5 sort of the center of everything going on in terms of the story, how Jason Momoa's character emerges and does a deep dive into sort of making something out of Fast 5, much like how F9 and a few other installments were centering around the third installment in the series Tokyo Drift. Now, to my surprise, I actually was enjoying this film throughout it. Through the action, and I thought some of the character stuff, like I said, the stuff they did with John Cena was a lot better in this one. To where I thought, wow, this actually is sort of the most enjoyable installment since Fast and Furious 6, which is going on a decade now. But that was up until the ending. This movie ends in a very awkward, what the hell kind of fashion. It's been pretty well known that this series has been gearing up for the next installment, supposedly being the end of the series. But I still think you gotta make some attempt to have some kind of real ending, because this movie just ends in such an awkward, cut-off kind of fashion, where there's no wrap-up, no sort of level of satisfaction. It's just like, what the fuck? That's the ending? Movies like that had sort of a setup type ending, like The Empire Strikes Back or Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, ended in cliffhanger fashion also, but they still had some level of wrap up to leave you satisfied and say like, okay, even though there's obviously more to the story in the next installment, I still feel like this is a complete movie right here. Also, this movie pulls something at the very end that I just found to be ridiculous. It's something that this series has done before, and it really just goes to show that in these movies, unless you see a decapitation or someone actually physically die, death don't mean shit in this series. So I'd love to see how the explanation they're going to come up with this for the next installment. Because of some of those issues at the end, 7 out of 10 for Fast X. Those shenanigans at the end of the movie definitely brought the movie down for me. But overall, I definitely did enjoy the movie more than I thought it would, mainly because of the action, and I did think it was definitely a noticeable step up on the previous few installments, which was F9 and The Fate of the Furious. Now, the next one, I keep saying this, I said this when F9 came out, but the next one, if it is going to be the last one, which I definitely hope it is, it needs to be called The Last of the Furious. That would be too perfect a title right there. So that'll do it for my review of Fast X. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.